Hey, welcome to our third episode of Two Tankers and a Cat. We are your host, Charlie, of course, me.
And Russell, me.
Excellent. Well, we are going to get into a topic today, and before you're like, oh, wait a minute, you shouldn't talk about this topic or anything, it's history. And basically, we're going to be talking about the first black armored units. Basically some of the heroic stuff that they did, and some stuff about some people and some things you didn't know. I know when I was researching this and when Russell was researching this, we both looked at each other and were like, wow. So Russell, before we get started, any new lightning stories?
Oh, not really. I mean, she was definitely a pain in the rear end today. She was all up in my stuff and giving me all kinds of issues and really wanting the attention today. But other than that, that's anytime I'm home, that's how she acts usually.
Well, we're getting a lot of response from our listeners, asking for more pictures about Lightning and stuff like that. Most of you seen Lightning putting her head in Russell's iced tea. Russell drinks a lot of iced tea, and so as soon as he leaves it, Lightning will stick her face in there. I have also gotten a couple of emails from some of our listeners about they were wanting to send catnip and cat toys and stuff. Apparently there's a lady in New Hampshire that wanted to sew a little cat toy with some catnip in it.
Oh, that'd be great. She would enjoy that.
Yeah, but it looks like a tank.
Oh, that's cool. That would be really neat.
Yep. So Russell's going to work on maybe an address or a P.O. box that you can stuff to Lightning. And Lightning is here today. She's strolling around acting like she's, owning the place. Well, she does own the place.
Well, pretty much. Yeah, she does.
If she could talk, it wouldn't be Two Tankers and a Cat. It'd be a Tanker Cat, and that'd be it. All right, well, we're going to get started. To give a little bit of history, how do I say this? There's a lot of things that we're going to talk about tank-wise. We're going to talk about the Stuart tank. If you're not familiar with the M5 light tank, it was a reconnaissance tank with a 37 millimeter gun. Yeah, 37 going against Tiger tanks. But you're also going to hear us talk about the M4. And no, we don't want to get into debate if the M4 was better than the Tiger or if the Tiger was better. Pretty sure you can look that up yourself to make your own decisions. We are going to do an episode on Tiger tanks. We are going to do an episode on M4s. So we're going to get started on the very first African-American black tank division. On January 13th in 1941, the U.S. Army established the 78th Tank Battalion, the first black armored unit. On March 1941, the tankers reported to Fort Knox, Kentucky, to begin armored training warfare. Now, a lot of people are going to go, well, what type of tanks were they being trained with? And again, that was a Stuart. Believe it or not, the Stuart was pretty simple. It had a Cadillac motor, and it was pretty simple to drive, but it would give, the driver the basis of how to drive a tank. So it was a good training tank, but it was also a really good reconnaissance tank. Russell, how fast did that thing go? I think we said 37.
Yeah, 36, 37 mile an hour, I believe it said.
Nice.
Yeah.
But they began their training in Fort Knox, the Kentucky. The 78th Battalion was redesignated as the 758th Tank Battalion. Now that was, of course, a light battalion. It was the first of three units that would form the all-black 5th Tank Group. Yeah, in the tank group, they had the 784, 761, the 758. Please forgive me, I'm going mostly off memory off some of this stuff. The 758 trained like we were talking about with the M5 light tank. The 758th was permanently attached to 92nd Infantry Division until September 22nd, 45. When the unit was deactivated, the unit's insignia is the head of the black African elephant with a large white tusk, accompanied by the motto, "We Pierce." So if you see the African elephant head, of course the black elephant head, that was actually the African American battalion, right? Or division, or unit.
Yeah, that'd be the 758th Battalion. Out of that tank group, that would have been their, I guess, their motto, I guess you would say.
Nice. And they paint that on their tanks, too. Now, what a lot of you won't know, the famous Jackie Robinson, who was the first African-American professional baseball player, he was actually in that division, or in that battalion, the 761st Tank Battalion. And he was, a civil rights leader back then, because he was in uniform and got on the bus, and the bus driver told him, "Get in the back of the bus," and he's like, "I'm not going to get in the back of the bus." They actually even tried to court-martial him, and the unit commander at the time says, no, we're not going to court-martial him. That's stupid.
Wow.
So it's just kind of a plus for the U.S. military to finally start to understand that there really didn't need to be a separation, that, they all fought as Americans and they bled as Americans. The 784th went into action in late December 1944, landing in France on Christmas Day 1944. That's a Merry Christmas, isn't it, Russ?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Merry Christmas to them.
The battalion consisted of 6 companies: Able Company, Baker, Charlie, and Dog. What, no cat?
Well, yeah. What happened to the cat company? Oh, I'm disappointed.
Headquarters and service companies A, B, and C, those had M4s and the M4A3 medium tanks, while the D company had the M5A1 Stuart light tanks. Throw this out there. Me and Russell have been looking at so many variants of the M4. If anybody has information on the M4A3, definitely message us. We would like to have a little bit more information. We had no idea there were so many variants of the M4. And like I said, that's for a later episode. 784th went into late action December 1944, landing in France on Christmas Day 1940. The 761st Tank Battalion was an independent tank battalion of the United States Army during World War II. The 761st was made up primarily of African American soldiers who by federal law were not permitted to serve along white troops. The military did not officially, desegregate until after World War II. Now, they were known as the Black Panthers. Now, a lot of people are like, oh no, Black Panthers. No, this was actually the original, if you see the tank and some of the old pictures and the icons and I guess battalion insignias and some of the artworks, if you look it up, they were known as the Black Panthers, and their motto was "Come Out Fighting." Now, me and Russ both looked this up, and we're going to try to add a picture of the Black Panthers insignia. It's actually pretty cool. They got all sorts of awards and presidential unit citations. Some of their awards included a Medal of Honor, 11 Silver Stars, and 300 Purple Hearts. They have been called one of the most effective tank battalions in World War II. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me. In October of 1944, General George Patton, who initially, wasn't hot on the whole black tanker thing, sent a message to the War Department requesting more tankers. Basically, he was fighting German panzers and Panther tanks, Panzer IVs. I think Russell's getting ready to do a story on the Jagdtiger. If you haven't ever seen a picture of a Jagdtiger, I would look that up before our next podcast because that is a beast. So he's running out of tankers, and unfortunately, the M4 tankers, and well, if you're a tanker in Patton's army, he was always go, 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 and he had a lot of casualties, a lot of knocked out tanks, and he was short people. So he requested more tankers, and the only tanker left was the black 761st, the Black Panthers. Well, our good, General Patton, being the nice, calm guy he was, said, "Who the blankety blank asked for color?" Patton shot back in typical salty style, "I asked for tankers." As the 761st was about to enter combat, George Patton reviewed the battalion and made a speech to the men, which offered a guarded vote of confidence in their ability. Now, here's where me and Russ thought that was great. If you've ever seen the movie Patton, now if you haven't, you should. Now, people are going to go, "You two tankers and a cat, have you really seen it?" Because the movie, the tanks were horrible. They were actually using Patton tanks and calling them Tigers, and they were using Sherman tanks and calling them, M4 Shermans. So, it was a movie, and, they had to use what it was worked for, but it's still pretty cool. If you get the image of the tiger out of your head, or use a little movie imagination in your own head, it's actually pretty good. But he gives a speech, and at the beginning, and he's behind this American flag, and they never show the crowd because in the movie they wanted to stay pretty historically correct, but they were afraid that a lot of audience members wouldn't like him addressing black tankers, or they didn't know about black tankers. But the speech that Russell is going to tell you or talk about is he actually was giving a speech to those guys. Russell, can you tell us a little bit about the speech?
Yeah, I'll read the speech here. Starts out by General Patton telling the black tankers that, "Men, you're the first Negro tankers to ever fight in the American Army. I would never have asked for you if you weren't good. I have nothing but the best in my army. I don't care what color you are, as long as you go up there and kill those Kraut sons of bitches. Everyone has their eyes on you and is expecting great things from you. Most of all, your race is looking forward to your success. Don't let them down, and damn you, don't let me down. They say it is patriotic to die for your country. Well, let's see how many patriots we can make out of those German sons of bitches. There's one thing you men will be able to say when you go home," he concluded. "You may all thank God that 30 years from now, when you're sitting with your grandson on your knee, and he asks, 'Grandfather, what did you do in World War II?' you won't have to say, 'I shoveled shit in Mississippi.'"
Okay, if you're not familiar with Patton, he is pretty salty.
Yes.
He would probably not be a general today because the entire world will be triggered. But if you get a chance to research him and talk about him, he was quite the character. Now, most people know about the Battle of the Bulge. During the Battle of the Bulge, German soldiers who had raided American warehouses were reported to be disguised as Americans guarding checkpoints in order to ambush American soldiers. Patton solved this problem by ordering black soldiers, including the 761st, to guard the checkpoints, and gave the order to shoot any white soldiers at checkpoints who acted suspiciously. So here's a pretty good trick. And, of course, today, that probably wouldn't be politically correct. But he's like, "I have black soldiers. I know the Nazis don't have any black soldiers."
Yeah.
So I'm going to put them out to guard So when you came up and there was an all-white guard system there, you were like, listen,
Yeah.
Patton just came out and said that it would be people of color, and these guys are talking with a little German accent. I think we should go ahead and machine gun them. If you don't know who Reuben Rivers was, he's a Medal of Honor winner, and for unusual heroism in serving with Company A of the 761st. The medal was awarded to Staff Sergeant Reuben Rivers in 1997. That's how long it took for people to say this guy was an American hero. His citation is kind of amazing. The citation for extraordinary heroism in the action during the 1519 November 1944 push towards Gruplin, France. Though severely wounded in his leg, Sergeant Rivers refused medical treatment and evacuation. He took command of another tank and advanced with his company in Grublin the next day. Repeatedly refusing evacuation, Sergeant Rivers continued to direct tank fire at enemy positions through the morning of November 19th, 1944. At dawn, Company A's tanks began to advance towards Buggendorf, that's in France, but were stopped by enemy fire. Sergeant Rivers, joined by another tank, opened fire on the enemy tanks, covering Company A as they withdrew. While doing so, Sergeant Rivers' tank was hit, killing him and wounding him. Staff Sergeant Rivers' fighting spirit and daring leadership was the inspiration to his unit and exemplified the highest traditions of the military service. So, here he is, him and another tank. They run into these enemy tanks. I guess you might want to know what he ran into. Now remember, he's in an M4 Sherman, and we're going to talk about the Jagdtigers. At daylight, as daylight slowly arrived, cold and frosty, within the thin crust of sleet over the snow, out of the fog came rumbling Jagdtigers, the heaviest of Hitler's armor, monsters armed with fearsome 128 SPA guns and machine guns that were the MG-34s, which were terrible, terrible guns. They'd just burp and destroy everything. The Tigers belched flame and seemed to scorch light out of the morning. German anti-tank positions concealed on the far side of the slope beyond the hedgerows lit up the gray sky. Barrages of explosions stomped all over the ground. Intersection, 2 Black Panther tanks were knocked out immediately, killing Bob Hammond and Roderick Irwin. Pull back, Panthers, came an order from the company commander. I see them, we'll fight them, Rivers responded. His tank darted from cover side by side with the Sherman commanded by Sergeant Walter James. Outnumbered, outgunned, the 2 Iron Steeds charged, diverting the German onslaught long enough for the Americans caught in the open to withdraw and regroup. So let's take a look at what that battle is. You're talking about it's very, very cold. It's sleeting. Ice is everywhere. Okay. They're moving forward. They're like, oh, we can take this town. We're going to be in good shape. That's him and one other M4. Now his guys are out in the open coming up on this town. Here come these Jagdtigers, supported by anti-tanks, start blasting them. They're gonna get annihilated. These 2 guys charge them. Says, no, we're gonna cover you. We're going in. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, that's just incredible. I mean, the conditions, even inside the tank. I'm not even sure if they had heat back then for fighting in the wintertime. My guess is their only heat they had is what they had around them. Their coats and gloves and all that stuff is my guess. So, I mean, yeah, the conditions would have just been crazy.
And it goes on to say, then a high explosive shell caught Rivers' tank and cracked it like an egg. The second shell finished the job, striking the turret and almost ripping Rivers' body in 2 parts. Rivers' tank continued to smoke out on the field battle for the rest of the day as American forces rallied and repelled the attack and secured the town. The Black Panther from Oklahoma, who would not quit, was dead. You know, here's a African American who got to meet George Patton, got to serve in one of his tank divisions, and knew how important it was, not as a black man, but as an American, to, help his people out, and he charged with an M4 against a Jagdtiger. It's going to be hard to explain, and Russ is going to get into the Jagdtiger because that's one of our favorite tanks, but there is no way, even me today, I would never get an M4 and charge a Jagdtiger.
That would just be suicide.
Yeah.
In my book, I mean, that's just crazy.
But this is the man who did it.
Yeah.
And a bigger man than we are.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about the baddest man in the 761st. Tank Commander Sergeant Warren Creasy came to the aid of his men on November 10th, 1944, and fought through enemy positions until his tank was destroyed. He eliminated the enemy tank position that had knocked out his tank by commandeering a vehicle armed with only a .30 caliber machine gun. He then killed the Germans' forward observers who were directing artillery fire on the U.S. positions. After manning a replacement tank, his tank gets knocked out.
Yeah.
He grabs a .30 caliber machine gun, shoots up the German scouts so they'll quit directing fire, killing U.S. troops, and then he goes back and says, "I need another tank."
Yep.
Now that's a man.
Put me back in another tank. Yeah.
That's a bad man. Creasy's new vehicle lost traction in the heavy mud, and he was forced to exit the tank under fierce machine gun fire, anti-tank, and artillery fire to free it. When attacked by German infantry, he had to abandon his salvage efforts to man the .50 caliber machine gun, stopping the enemy advance and forcing them to withdraw. Now people are like, wait a minute. Where did the .50 caliber come from? The old M4 Shermans had a .50 cal mounted on top, and that was actually used as an anti-aircraft gun to help protect U.S. Tanks from airplanes. And when they'd come down to strafe, a .50 caliber will tear up a airplane pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it was basically an anti-aircraft machine gun. So his tank gets stuck. He jumps out, starts to dig it out by hand in the freezing cold, and they are charging him, and he's like, can't you see I'm working? He jumps up on his tank, cocks it back, and starts unloading on these guys, driving them back. That's a bad man.
Yeah.
He was described as a baby-faced, quiet, easygoing, meek-looking fellow. Creasy had destroyed an anti-tank position and a number of German machine guns, only armed with a machine gun. And without regard for his personal safety under heavy fire, his men reportedly experienced difficulty getting the machine gun away from him after the action. He's like, give us a machine gun. He's like, no, man.
You're not going to give that up.
Yeah, I ain't giving that up. But everybody's like, what do you mean machine gun? Well, the M4s, if you didn't know, was actually shipped with machine guns in it. They'd give them the old Thompson machine guns. Not the barrel ones, but the long magazine ones. And they actually had those in there. So if you can imagine him carrying this Tommy gun, chasing after these guys and jumping into anti-aircraft or anti-tank guns and artillery positions and just mowing them down. That's a bad man.
Yeah. I call this guy a real soldier right here.
Yep. Creasy was nominated for the Medal of Honor and received a battlefield commission, eventually retiring to the rank of major at 25. His heroic actions earned him the title of the baddest man in the 761st from his comrades.
Wow.
You know, I'm sorry we get excited, and you can tell on our voices that we get excited, even though we've read these stories over and over. But if you can picture in your head, this is a bad man.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us are, and I know Russ is a big tank movie fan, and there's a lot of terrible tank movies out there. there really is. What I've checked into, that if you didn't know, there's the NBA Hall of Famer Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He actually authored a book on this. So if you want to learn more about the African American tankers and stuff, he wrote a book, and it's called Brothers in Arms. Kind of wordplay, if you can figure that out. The epic story of the 761st Tank Battalion, World War II's Forgotten Heroes. Now, here's the neat thing. Kareem and Morgan Freeman, the actor, are actually friends, and they are co-producing a new movie about the 761st based on Kareem's and co-writer Anthony Walton's 2004 book. Apparently, Freeman has talked to Will Smith and Denzel Washington, some of the other big African-American stars that we have. So hopefully in the future we'll be seeing a movie, and we did a podcast before they even started the movie.
Yeah, that would be really neat if they would do that.
Just amazing.
I mean, they've already done it with the Air Force.
Yeah.
With the movie they made. And
was that Red Tails?
Red Tails,
yeah. If you haven't seen that movie, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a airplane guy.
Yeah.
But I always appreciate, going to the museums, and Russell has drugged me to a lot of Air Force museums, and I've always walked away going, man, I am glad you brought me. That was really great.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah, again, how I always stand up in the podcast and say, it's important that you support your local VFWs, museums that do military history. Go to them, tell them you appreciate them, see if you can volunteer it there. It's important.
Yeah, very much so. Also, I want to add to that is that you guys out there may not realize how many museums there are that have tank displays and military displays. And yes, we will get into those very much so in our future podcasts. And we will talk about to where you can actually go to and see these displays.
We are actually working on our first big trip. I think you want to go down to Georgia?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'd like to do.
Do down to Fort Benning and do a podcast?
Yeah.
So if you ever hear us doing a podcast from a museum, we're going to try to make it big. Probably we're going to do one from Liberty Memorial in Kansas City. But that'd be great, and we're going to try to put some video and stuff up on there. I keep talking about the Jagdtiger, and I know it's a big part of yours. Let's go ahead and, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about the Jagdtiger. I'm so excited to talk about it, and we should maybe do a Tank of the Week when we do a podcast. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, I think that'd probably be a good idea. We'll kind of highlight one particular tank out of that episode, and I think that'd be a good idea.
Russ, let's go ahead and try this, and if people don't like it, they can always message us and say, wow.
Yeah.
And if people like it, we'll definitely add it to every podcast.
Yeah.
All right, so the Tank of the Week is the Jagdtiger. Well, tell us a little bit about it, Russell.
Yeah, the Jagdtiger is the common name of a German turretless heavy tank destroyer during the World War II time period. The official German designation was I'd probably butcher it if I even tried to say it, to be honest with you, the Panzerjäger Tiger Os B. It was based on a lengthened Tiger II chassis, which, to be honest with you, until I actually did a little research on this, I had no idea that that's the chassis that it was built on. Just a little bit lengthened version of the Tiger II. 71-ton Jagdtiger was the heaviest armored fighting vehicle used operationally during World War II and it is the heaviest armored vehicle of any type to achieve series production. It's an incredible beast, is what it is.
So my question to you, when you say operational, this is one they actually had on the production line, got out in the field, and was actually used in battle.
Exactly, yes.
Because I know a lot of people are saying, well, that's not the heaviest tank, and the mouse and even the rat that was on the design board.
Yeah.
But we're talking about actual tanks that were out shooting. This is the heaviest one?
Yeah.
Wow. Can you tell us some more?
The vehicle carried a 128 millimeter Pac 44 L55 main gun. Well, hello, Lightning. How you doing?
If you guys
Nice
didn't,
to see you up here.
if you guys didn't just hear the,
Yeah.
she jumped up here again.
I don't know if the microphone caught that or not, but yeah, she made a little noise while she jumped up here on the desk to join us. Anyway, getting back to the main gun that it carried, it was 128 millimeter Pac 44 L55 main gun. It was capable of outranging and defeating any Allied tank, which really is an incredible feat during World War II. It saw service in small numbers from late 1944 to the end of the war, both on the Western and Eastern fronts. They ordered 150 were actually ordered, but only between about 70 and 88 were produced. So, yeah, they wasn't a whole lot of them, but they did see some action.
Well, we know they saw some action because our Sergeant Rivers, the tank got cracked by one and it killed him.
Exactly, yes.
Now, Russell, one of the things I wanted to bring up, you're saying it was a 70-ton tank or a 75-ton tank. Let me ask you this. Weren't the roads back then almost all mud? And
yeah, oh yeah.
could you imagine how many times that thing got stuck?
Yeah, probably quite often, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, is that classified as a tank or a tank destroyer?
It's classified as a tank destroyer. I mean, it was mainly a tank hunter to take out
Other tanks?
the other tanks. Yeah,
Wow.
That's what it was designed for.
I know you said it had 128. Now I know, or 128 millimeter, and I know a lot of people out there know about the Jagdtiger 88. Me and Russell both have Jagdtiger 88s in the game World of Tanks. we love them.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
How was the gun mounted? Did it have a turret?
No, actually they don't. German tank destroyers during World War II, they used fixed what they called casemates instead of movable turrets. The reason for that is that it significantly reduced the cost, the weight of the machine, and the materials used for mounting the large caliber guns. So no, it did not have a movable turret at all.
See, Russell's more of an expert on different type of tank destroyers, whether it be the Russians and Germans. I'm a big fan of the American tank destroyers, and like the Hellcat and some of the other tank destroyers we had, like the T-67. But a lot of people don't know about the Hellcat. You actually had to move it by hand. It wasn't automatic. But these guys, they just put a big gun on the front and said anything in front's dead.
Yeah.
So they really weren't worried about speed and mobility. They were more about, we'll crush anything in front of us.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually what's in front of you. That's what they were after.
Can you tell us a little bit about the production?
They initially ordered about 150 of the Jagdtigers, but like I mentioned earlier, only about 70 to 88 of the actual machines were produced. They produced them in St. Valentin.
Now, that's in Germany, right?
Germany, yeah. St. Valentin, Germany. From about July 1944 through about May of 1945. That's when they produced those 70 to 88 that they produced.
Russell, tell me a little bit about the combat history besides Sergeant Rivers' unfortunate incident with the Jagdtiger.
For the history, with some of the combat that the Jagdtigers had seen. They only had 2 heavy anti-tank battalions that were equipped with the Jagdtigers, with the first vehicles reaching the units in about September of 1944. 20% of those Jagdtigers were lost in combat. Most were destroyed by their own crews, believe it or not, when they had to abandon them. So they would destroy them to keep the enemy from taking the machine over.
Now, when you say the crews, what was the chief reason for these breakdowns?
More than likely, it was a mechanical issue. That was their main reason for breaking down all the time. Lack of fuel in the final stages of the war. I know we've all kind of read about that in the history books, to where the Germans had issues on having enough fuel to run their machines.
Wow. Yeah, and that was a big... Well, Germany back then was so falling apart. We're talking about the latter part of the war. So basically you're saying some of these tanks just ran out of gas?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They just didn't have the fuel to run them.
And they were like, no, the Americans are going to gas these up and turn them around.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about these combat history.
Yeah. During World War II, it was told that one Jagdtiger climbed a hill to attack 5 American tanks about 600 meters away. 2 withdrew, and the other 3 opened fire. The Jagdtiger took several hits, but American projectiles could not penetrate the 250 millimeter frontal armor. Believe it or not, the Americans didn't have a whole lot of projectiles that could penetrate that kind of armor. The inexperienced German commanders lost their nerve and wound up turning around instead of backing down, exposing the thinner side armor, which was eventually penetrated, and all 6 crew members were lost.
Well, now this is a pretty funny story to me, and I'm sure at the time, and I'm not trying to make light of this German tank commander's coming up the hill, and there's 5 American tanks. 2 bail. They're like, nope, that's a Jagdtiger.
Get me out of here.
That'd be me and Russ and our tanks. We're like, hey, we're out. See ya. We can outrun this thing, so we're gone. Bye.
Yeah.
So it comes up. These other 3 are just firing, bouncing. But this German tank commander is sitting there going, man, they're shooting the crap out of us. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And they turned to their side, and of course their side armor got them killed.
They're done.
So here's a gaming tip for Armored Warfare and World of Tanks and War Thunder. If you can shoot them in the side, you're gonna tear them up.
You'll take them out pretty quick.
Russell, tell us about some of the surviving tanks.
Yes. Currently, there are 3 Jagdtigers that survive in museums today. The first one that I'll mention is at the Tank Museum, Bovington, England.
Oh, we have to go there
I
someday.
know. It is on our list.
It's
on our to-do list for sure. That particular Jagdtiger was captured by British troops in April 1945 in Germany, where it was being used for trials. I mean, they were out just starting to use it.
Wow.
And it was captured.
Where's one of the other ones? And try to find us something local we can go to.
Yeah. Believe it or not, we do have one in the United States of America. It's at the National Armor and Cavalry Museum in Fort Benning, Georgia.
We've got to go.
Oh, yes. Yes, I agree 100%. That is definitely at the top of our to-do list. That particular Jagdtiger, it was produced in October 1944 and was attached to the main German tank group that had these Jagdtigers.
Wow.
So
we actually captured one.
Yeah.
No wonder the crews were burning them up.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, they're going to make museum pieces out of them.
Yeah.
Lightning, get off me. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Lightning is all over us tonight.
This particular Jagdtiger at this museum, it was captured in Germany in March of 1945, and damage is still visible on the gun mantlet the glacis plate and the lower nose armor.
Now, when we do get down to the museum, we will do a podcast, and we will be taking pictures of this Jagdtiger for everybody. Now, out of 88 tanks, you said there's 3 survivors. We got 2. Where's the other one?
Yeah, the third survivor is in the Kubinka Tank Museum near Moscow, Russia. This vehicle is a Henschel variant. It was acquired by Soviet forces when Germans equipped with 4 Jagdtigers surrendered in Austria on May 5th of 1945. So that's how it was actually captured, and today it sits in this museum in Moscow.
Wow. Unfortunately, we would love to go to the Kubinka Tank Museum, but
hey, we can always put it on our list.
we put it on the list. There's, besides getting the passports and the visas and everything else, I had talked to a friend of mine, and he was actually saying that they actually had to hire mafia to protect them when they were going down there in transportation.
Wow.
So their Uber drivers were actually mafia related.
Wow.
So, hey.
Yeah, that's way down on our list now, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have any history about some of the tanker units?
Yeah, I found a pretty interesting diary, believe it or not, of a Jagdtiger German, from a Jagdtiger German unit in World War II. And it kind of explains some of the neat stuff that they went through. I mean, inside a Jagdtiger and day-to-day life. And I think what I'll do from here is kind of read some of that from that diary and give you, everybody out there, an idea of some of the things they've seen.
That would be awesome.
After about 200 kilometers of travel, 6 Jagdtigers had heavy engine failures, while 4 had light engine failures. These damages were mainly due to the weight of the Jagdtiger, pushing the capacity of the Tiger II chassis and Maybach HL 230 P30 engine to the limit. On February 1st, 1945, out of 41 Jagdtigers, only 22 were operational. So only 22 out of 41 were operational.
So basically what you're saying is 41 of these tanks drove 200 kilometers and they start falling apart.
Yeah.
Okay, now this would be a good time to bring up the M4 Sherman was probably a little bit better compared to that.
Yeah, I agree. A little more dependable.
Yeah.
And the other thing with the Sherman is you got to remember, they built about 50,000 of the things. So they always had a lot more to replace the ones that did fall out.
Now, if you were going to tow one of these things, what would you need?
In order to tow a Jagdtiger, you actually had to have, the Germans used 2 different other huge machines that they came out and got these things with. It was just incredible what it took. So it actually took 3 different tank-like machines to tow one of these back in.
Now, I know from a little bit of history, and our listeners should, send us some emails and some questions. One of the frames that the Germans used was the SDKF Z9, but I thought that was artillery. So if you guys know this, please write in and tell Russell how dumb I am. But go ahead, Russell.
Heck, and they may have used a couple of these to help them tow it in, to be honest with you. That may have been some of the couple of machines they had to use to help tow them back. On March 14th, 1945, during a nighttime battle, a U.S. column is destroyed. The following day, French colonial forces crossed the Moder River at Oberhofen with this particular German unit, firing at attackers. On March 16th, as Unit 653 of the Germans counterattacked, 7 Jagdtigers were disabled by fighter bombers and artillery. Only 2 could be salvaged, the remaining being destroyed by their crew. 2 further Jagdtigers were destroyed by their crew on 17th, 18th, and 22nd of March during rear guard action. So they did not fare very well, really.
So they're French colonials. A lot of the French troops that they were using helped them counterattack, but the M4 wasn't really good fighting them up front, so we were using artillery and aircraft to knock them out.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, exactly,
Good idea.
yeah.
I support that decision.
And it was a huge target from the air, too. So
All right, go on and give us some more details. This is actually pretty interesting.
on March 22nd of that year, 3 Jagdtigers of Unit 653 near the city of Bull reported to have destroyed 9 tanks and 2 armored cars. So wow, they had a good day on that particular day, destroying some enemy tanks. Finally,
Okay. Got to remember, the Americans were the enemy, so
Yeah.
somebody had a bad day.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Americans had a bad day probably. After an artillery barrage and infantry attack, 1 Jagdtiger was destroyed to prevent capture, while another was destroyed by artillery. So they lost one by
Them destroying it,
them destroying their own, since they
and the other one got hit by artillery.
Yeah,
An artillery round right through the roof of that one of
Yeah.
those things
yeah,
would,
yeah.
that
it
was
wouldn't take
the,
much. Yeah.
that was the end of that tank.
Yeah. Unit 653 took up position in the city of Neustadt, from where they attacked U.S. armored forces, reporting a total of 25 tanks and tank destroyers destroyed. While the Jagdtigers were hit several times by U.S. anti-tank rounds, none of the shells actually penetrated. One of the Jagdtigers broke down, and another ran out of ammunition and was destroyed, while the last crossed the Rhine.
How many American tanks and tank destroyers they wipe out? You said 25,
25 on this day, yeah.
and they destroyed one of their own tanks
Yeah.
because it ran out of shells.
One out of shells, yeah.
Okay, that was a bad day for us.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Yeah. When this darn Jagdtigers were fired up and going, they sent out some rounds, to be honest with you, and caused some damage.
And I think we'll get into discussion later about one of the problems is the Jagdtiger was, a beast, but they only made 88 and we
Yeah.
made 50,000,
Yeah.
M4s.
Yeah.
So you're just going to lose by
Yeah.
attrition there.
Yeah. On March 30th, 3 Jagdtigers out of 8 operational were sent to counter an approaching U.S. unit, while the rest of the unit retreated. One bogged down, in other words, probably got stuck
In the mud, yeah.
in the mud, while the other lost a track when fired upon by a medium M4 tank.
Yay for the M4.
And it was substantially
Destroyed.
Yeah, it was actually destroyed by the M4.
Well, I don't think the M4 destroyed it. I think they blew the track off, and the guys were like, well, we can't let them capture this
Yeah.
baby, so
Yeah.
go ahead and light it up.
And then on April 5th, while fighting French forces this time, 1 Jagdtiger is destroyed, and another breaks down and is destroyed by its crew. Until April 16th, a further 10 Jagdtigers are destroyed by their crews. 3 are lost during the Battle of Nuremberg, and on April 26th, out of the 14 Jagdtigers, only 1 is operational at this point.
See, yeah, and I don't want to get into this whole M4s were junk,
Yeah,
but they ran.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
say, oh, well, the 105 gun that was on the M4 was bad, or the 76, or, you know what? For what we needed, it seems
Yeah.
like we were doing pretty good.
Yeah. It's true. And it seemed like the Jagdtigers, since they were prone to breakdowns, like I talked about a little bit ago, I mean, they had breakdowns like crazy because of how heavy they were. And reading through the diary here, day to day fighting with them, it seems like more of them were probably damaged or taken out by their own crews that didn't want to leave them behind to be captured.
I think I did see pictures of the Jagdtiger that they did catch and is down in Fort Benning. And from what I understand, they did use it, not as a tank destroyer, but they were like using it to move troops. And
Yeah.
it broke down there, and
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
you know what? These things are junk.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And we're not calling the Jagdtiger junk.
No, hey, it was.
It was an amazing war machine at the time. You know, you can have the best car in the world, but if it only goes 200 miles and breaks down,
true.
You might want to buy a Kia.
That is true. Yes.
Can you give us a little just stats on the tank?
Yeah. Going back, it was actually produced between 1944 and 1945. Like I said, it weighed between about 70 and 72 tons, 158,000 pounds.
And it was made on a Tiger II frame?
Chassis. They used the chassis of the Tiger II and built onto it.
The Tiger II was not meant to take that much weight.
No.
No wonder it kept snapping everything and getting bogged down.
Yeah, that was a big issue. It was about 34 feet, 11 inches long, including the gun. About 11 feet, 10 inches wide.
Wow.
And about 9 foot, 2 inches tall. It had 6 crew members. It had a commander, a gunner, a loader, an assistant loader, a driver, and an assistant driver. So,
well, with that size of gun, you're going to need 2 guys just to lift the shell.
Oh, yeah. So it had 6 people inside that beast.
Now, you were talking about the front armor. How thick was that casemate?
Yeah, the casemate armor was 250 millimeters, which in English comes out to about 9.84 inches thick.
Almost 10 inches.
Almost 10 inches thick on the front. The hull, it had about 150 millimeters, or that converts into almost 6 inches of hull armor. The sides, which we talked about earlier, 80 millimeter armor, which comes out to about 3 inches.
About 3 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. Note to future tank commanders: point the heavy stuff towards
the side and the rear.
Don't give them the sides and the rear. If you're driving in one of these tanks, don't give them your sides or rears.
Yes. Like I said, the rears got about the same as the sides, about 3 inches of armor.
Now it had one big gun. What was the secondary armament?
They had one. Yeah, besides the big gun, they had one 7.92 millimeter MG-34.
And we talked about the engine. How many horsepower?
690 horsepower on that thing.
And
probably still wasn't enough. They probably could have used a lot more.
And it wasn't pushing the thing hardly.
Yeah.
When you were saying it started to climb a hill, it must have been just crawling up there.
That's incredible.
That's why these 3 American tanks were sitting there just shooting at it.
Yeah.
What was the operational ranges?
They had a range of about 75 miles on a road or about 50 miles off-road. So off-road definitely slowed them down quite a bit.
So with a full tank of gas, they're going 75 down the road. Unfortunately, it was, 120 kilometers?
Yeah.
And they went 200 kilometers and all broke down?
Yeah.
So they basically got to burn 1 tank of gas, and that was about it.
That was about it, yep.
What was the top speed on that?
They went about 34 kilometers an hour, or in English, about 21 mile an hour. So not very fast.
So that's wide open on a flat plane.
Yeah.
And 21. I think I can walk that fast.
Yeah.
You're like, this is a great, tank, and it's you can't stop it.
Yeah.
But wait, don't walk behind it. Hey, what are you doing with that grenade? What are you doing with that bazooka? Because it couldn't turn its turret around, could it?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, wow. You're talking about somebody having to open the back door to shoot somebody that's behind them. Probably, that's a great story. I'm glad we did this little. But if you guys didn't enjoy our Tank of the Week, definitely let us know.
Yeah.
Russ, can you tell us anything about people contacting? I keep telling everybody they can contact us. What are some of the ways they can contact us?
Yeah. They can get a hold of us. Best way to probably get a hold of us with just a message or pictures or anything like that. 2tankersandcat@gmail.com. TWOTANKERSANDCAT @gmail.com. You can get to our podcast, if you want to get to it directly, you can go to twotankersandcat.podbean.com. TWOTANKERSANDCAT.podbean, PODBEAN.com. You can also reach us at Facebook now. I've set up a Facebook site. Just do a search in the search bar up above for Two Tankers and Cat, and you'll be able to find our page there on Facebook.
And so far, our people have just contacted us all over, and it's amazing. The podcast goes all the way. We've got one lady in England. I think her name is Donna. She's saying, "Oh, I just loved it, and there's just so much information." And I'm like, "Are you a tank fan?" And she goes, "No, not at all. But I'm a history fan." I'm like, "Great.
Exactly, and then I do want to push that too. If you're into history, if you're into military history, I'll guarantee you we're catering to you guys too out there. I mean, these are great history lessons for anybody that wants to learn.
Well, in closing, lightning, get down. Gosh.
Holy moly, you've been a pain tonight.
We are going to post some more pictures and maybe some video of lightning. We are planning some trips. I've had several of you reach out and say that you were wanting to maybe support us in different ways, financial and other ways. We haven't set up a Patreon yet.
No, we have not.
Right now, this is all on our time, and we're doing this for you and us because we really enjoy talking about tanks.
Yes, we do.
So please contact us. Got any final closing thoughts?
I just want to say happy tanking, and until the next episode, this is Russell.
And this is Charlie.
See you on the other side.
Lightning, get down.
Holy cow, cat.